Hello there, old and new friends. It's your friendly neighborhood sunshine squirrel. Welcome back to the channel. If you missed my last video, I would say go ahead and just pause this video, go back, watch our video from last week. Recently I purchased a Disney Vacation Club membership at Grand Floridian. So if you want to hear all about that, definitely go and check out that new and exciting news. Now, my family and I went to Disney World over the holiday season, and during that time we actually purchased Genie Plus and Lightning Lane, and we did a little bit of some research before we went on that trip. But I have to say, we learned so much during that trip, and I really want to help you if you're planning on going to the parks in the spring or in the summertime for your family vacation trip, to know tips and tricks of how to make this system work for you and your family. So before we get into the tips and tricks for utilizing Genie, Genie Plus, Lightning Lane to your advantage, I think it's important for us to explain what it is and what it is not. So first things first, you're going to want to make sure that you have the My Disney Experience app downloaded on your smart device. This app is kind of your key to the world as far as Disney is concerned, and it's where you're going to be able to find Genie, Genie Plus, and Lightning Lane. When you first open the My Disney Experience app and you click on Genie, activate Genie, release him from the bottle, he is going to begin by asking you a series of questions to get to know you a little bit better. Do you like long walks on the beach? What's your favorite dessert? No. He's actually going to ask you, what things do you like to do when you go to the Disney parks best? So whether that's dining, attractions, shows, character meetups, it's basically going to help him know how he should help to plan your day and what recommendations he should give to you while you're visiting the parks. So after you get all this set up, when you go to the home page, you're going to see a tip board and a My Day tab. The tip board is basically how Genie is going to communicate with you. So Genie may give you a suggestion depending upon which park you're in. If he notes that there's a low wait time at a certain park or a certain area in the park, he'll let you know about different dining spots nearby, even characters. On the My Day tab is if you're staying at a Disney resort, you'll see your resort. You'll be able to look up bus time, so when the resort transportation should be making its way back to the resort to pick you up. You can even see your room number and unlock your room. You'll also be able to see any dining reservations you have. You'll be able to make dining reservations, join a same day sort of wait or standby for dining reservations, or join a quick or a virtual queue if there is any of those being offered during your visit. So it really is a way for you to kind of organize your day and have a digital planner, so to speak. And then, you know, it's very similar to if you go to a website, let's say YouTube, and you search for, let's say, how to change a tire. The next day when you go onto YouTube, you'll probably see video suggestions of how to change a tire based upon your recent history. So based upon the different things that you do while you're in the parks, even outside of what you tell Genie, he'll begin to kind of learn what you like and make more suggestions. So the more you go to the park, the more you use Genie, the more he's kind of going to get to know you a little bit better and grant all of your magical wishes. Alright, so now that we've talked about what is Genie, let's talk about Genie Plus. Now, when you think of Genie Plus, think of plus dollars. So Genie Plus is a paid reservation system. It is $15 a day plus tax per ticket holder. So that means if you have a family of 4, you will need to purchase 4 Genies for each of those individuals. So around $15, 4 people, a little bit over $60 every single day. Now, the nice thing about Genie Plus is that $15 plus tax is the same price all year, 365, 24/7. So you're not going to see changes in that price based upon if it's a high volume time, if it's a weekend versus a weekday. It's all a set price. I think it's important to also explain that Genie Plus is completely different than the former FastPass system, and the two are not alike at all. It's kind of like comparing apples to oranges. Fast Pass, as the name implied, the whole goal of that system was that you were supposed to be able to get through the queue lines fast. You were given 3 Fast Passes to begin with for your reservation, or should I say the day where you were planning on going to the park for your trip. And then from then on, once you tapped your magic band or tapped your phone, you were then able to get an additional Fast Pass one at a time. Genie Plus is very different in that the goal of this new system is to make sure that you and your family are able to hit those kind of heavy hitter or more popular attractions in the span of your trip. So you still, the former Fast Pass lines have been converted to, as they are now called, Lightning Lane. So it's for Genie Plus and individual Lightning Lane. But you still may have a little bit of a wait, just like you did with Fast Pass. But the main thing that I think it's important to remember is that the goals of these two systems are different. Fast Pass, think of whizzing through the line. Genie Plus, making sure that you're getting on those popular attractions. Now, the Genie Plus system offers more than 40 different attractions and experiences or shows throughout the parks. This does include the 4 main parks, but not the water parks. So this is Magic Kingdom, Epcot, Animal Kingdom, Hollywood Studios, no Typhoon Lagoon, no Blizzard Beach included. You begin by making your first Genie Plus selection at 7 a.m. If you have a park hopper ticket, you absolutely can use Genie Plus from one park to the next. So if I start off in Magic Kingdom in one morning, I absolutely can still use Genie Plus at Animal Kingdom in the afternoon. You do get a couple of other features with Genie Plus. You do get special PhotoPass lenses, and some of the lenses, or I guess you could even say filters, can only be activated depending upon which park you're in and which specific area of the park you're in. So for example, if you go to Galaxy's Edge in Hollywood Studios, you can have a little special friend appear on your shoulder, and that's always a fun photo to snag. Also auto tails, so depending upon where you are in the park and which attractions you're at in the park, they will have a little story that you can listen to, and it's kind of insider tips and facts about the different Imagineers and how the actual attraction was constructed and the history behind it. So some helpful things to know, and if you're a big history buff, you'll probably really geek out over that. So how do you purchase Genie Plus? Well, once again, you purchase it through the My Disney Experience app. If you are purchasing a multi-day ticket or a vacation package, you can purchase Genie Plus at the same time. If you are a single day ticket holder or you're an annual pass holder, you will purchase Genie Plus the same day as your park reservation. You can begin to purchase Genie Plus after 12 a.m. the day of your park reservation. Now let's talk about individual Lightning Lane. Now, individual Lightning Lane is purchasing one ride time for one attraction at a time. You're allowed to purchase up to 2 per day. Each of the main parks, Magic Kingdom, Animal Kingdom, Epcot, and Hollywood Studios, they each have 2 attractions that are considered on an individual Lightning Lane basis. Once again, you are purchasing just to ride that one attraction one time. And the goal of this part is so that you are able to ride those rides that are more of the heavy hitters or they're super popular rides. So think of things like Rise of the Resistance, Flight of Passage, and Pandora. Those rides that are kind of make or break it, where they may be the only attraction that you really, really want to get on for your whole trip. The pricing for the individual Lightning Lanes does vary, and it depends upon the day of the week, so whether it's a weekend or a weekday, and also the season. So if you're visiting Disney during a high volume, high popular time, like during a festival and on a weekend, the price for those individual Lightning Lanes is going to be higher. Purchase individual Lightning Lanes through the My Disney Experience app, and then once you do purchase it, it will appear under your My Day on your Genie service. Resort guests can start purchasing individual Lightning Lanes at 7 a.m. This also includes guest staying at the Swan and Dolphin and Shades of Green, and all other guests purchase once the park opens. that was a lot of information, guys. I hope you're still with me. I just wanted to make sure we were all on the same page before we start getting into the tips. So first off, let's talk about some tips for utilizing just straight up Genie. Now, I just want to say, like, I love free stuff. So absolutely take advantage of this free complimentary service that you have just from using the My Disney Experience app. One of the main ways that I use Genie is as I'm walking through the parks and let's say I'm in Magic Kingdom, if I'm going into Tomorrowland, I'll pull up the tip board to kind of see what the wait times are and see if Genie knows of any attractions in that area that have a lower wait time. That kind of helps you so that if you're in one area of the park, you can kind of hit different attractions that are in that spot rather than going all the way over to another part of the park as well. And for example, if you have little ones and it's really important to them that they get to see their favorite princess or their favorite Disney character, the tip board can really help you to make sure that you don't miss things like the cavalcades, the parades, different things like that that are passing through. So absolutely, you know, check what Genie is saying. He's, you know, kind of like Santa Claus. He sees you when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake. He knows if you've been bad or good. I'm just gonna stop before this gets weird. I also think Genie is very helpful if you've never been to Walt Disney World before and you have all these other friends that maybe are telling you all these things about all these rides you have to try, all this food you have to eat, and you're just like, how am I going to do all of this? Well, absolutely program that into Genie. Let him know what you want to do. There's even a feature within the application where you can select favorites and kind of like your must-do list, so to speak. So definitely use that service to help you figure that out. All right, so now that we've talked about Genie, let's move into the realm of Genie Plus. Now, I feel like right off the bat, I'm just going to say this, I really do think that Genie Plus is intended for individuals that are going to Disney on, let's say, a once a year basis, every other year, maybe 1 or 2 times a year, but not for the individual, not for the family that's necessarily going to Disney every week, every other week, once a month. I really truly believe that if you are going to Disney on that consistent of a basis, you probably can prioritize and figure out what attractions, which shows you're going to do for each of those times. But if you have an individual who only gets to go to Disney every couple of years, every other year, it's more important to that individual to make sure that they're able to get in their Disney dose, because it's going to be a long time before they're going to come back. So let's kind of talk about more of kind of how Genie Plus works. So you can purchase Genie Plus after 12 a.m. on the same day that you have a park reservation if you are annual pass holder or a same day ticket holder. However, you don't need to say that I'm going to wait up till 12 a.m. This is something that I did on a recent Disney trip because I wasn't aware of the fact that you don't have to wait up to 12 a.m. Like, you can purchase Genie Plus anytime after that. There's no concern of it selling out. Disney has not released or informed anybody of information as far as a cap for Genie Plus or that there's a specific cutoff. You just need to make sure that you purchase it, I would say, before 7 a.m. At 7 a.m. is when you are allowed to make your first Genie Plus reservation, and so you don't want to be trying to purchase Genie Plus at the same time when you can make park reservations. Now, real talk, guys, when the reservation window opens at 7 a.m., some of the really popular attractions, the early morning, afternoon times, will go in less than 30 seconds. Yes, you heard me, less than 30 seconds. Not even 7:01. They are gone, or there's barely any left. So it's really important that 6:59, that your finger is right on that app, ready to go, ready to click the attraction that you want. Along with that, it's really important that you come up with a game plan. Figure out your first selection and your second selection. Figure out what attraction you want to make on your must list. Talk it over with your family, and then talk about a plan B option. There are times where you may see an attraction that you really want, like for example Slinky Dog Dash, and when you go in and you go to click it, the next reservation is until 9 o'clock at night, and let's say that you and your family don't want to be in the parks at that time of night. So then you're going to want to have another attraction in the back of your mind that you can quickly select and make those reservations for. Now a tip with Genie Plus and how to really work Genie Plus in your favor. If you are staying at a Disney Deluxe Resort, you do have some days when there are extended theme park hours in the evening and in the morning. Take advantage of these extra hours in the park. So my family and I, what we did is we would go in early in the morning. So as soon as the park opened, a lot of times the early hours started around like 8:30, and we would go and do the attractions that we really wanted to do, or that were, let's say, the lightning lane, the individual lightning lane attractions, and then we didn't have to purchase individual lightning lane. Or what we were able to do is, if we try to get Genie Plus and an attraction that we really wanted, like Slinky Dog Dash, didn't have any reservations until like 9 o'clock at night, when we would go into the park, we would go and hit those attractions first and just stand in the standby line, and then use Genie Plus to then pick up those other attractions that we wanted to do along the way that are popular but not as popular as some of those heavy hitters. So definitely don't view Genie Plus as the type of system where if I purchase this, I'm never going to have to stand in this standby line. No, like, you are going to have to stand in a standby line on occasion. So I think that you kind of need to have realistic goals and expectations there. But definitely use those early morning or evening hours to your advantage. Now, let's talk a little bit about if you make your Genie Plus reservation. So when you log in at 7 a.m., let's say I'm at Magic Kingdom, that's the park I'm going to be at. I log into the system at 7 a.m. and I make my first Genie Plus selection for Peter Pan's flight. So if the first selection that is available for that ride is, let's say, I don't know, 9:15, that means that once I tap my band, my magic band, my phone or my card to the scanner at the lightning lane, I am then eligible to make another Genie Plus reservation. Now, let's say, for example, that Peter Pan reservation isn't until 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Do I have to wait till 3 o'clock in the afternoon before I'm allowed to make my next reservation? No. So this is when the 120-minute rule, or I don't really know why everyone calls it 120-minute. I'm just going to say the 2-hour rule. So the 2-hour rule comes into play. Some of you may have heard about this. So if you make a reservation at 7 a.m. and you are not going to be using it till the afternoon or the evening, you are allowed to book your second Genie Plus reservation 2 hours after the park has opened. So once again, let's say I log in, make a reservation at 7 a.m., but the park does not open till 9 o'clock. The clock starts at 9 o'clock. And so I have to wait till 11 o'clock before I can make my next reservation, because my future reservation isn't until 3 or 2. So this is another tip that I'm going to recommend for you guys. I highly recommend trying to book your first Genie Plus reservation first thing in the morning, first thing when the park opens, so you can immediately start clicking through and start making more reservations. Otherwise, you're going to have, that 120-minute rule, that 2-hour rule that you're going to have to wait for before you can make your selection. And by the time you can make that selection, a lot of the other reservations for some of the more popular rides may already be gone, or it may be really late in the day. Something else you need to keep in mind is if you make, let's say that it's not at 7 a.m. and it's just in the park. So let's say I'm in the parks, it's 12 o'clock, and I book a reservation for, let's say, Rock and Roller Coaster at 6 o'clock. So at 2 o'clock, then I can make my next reservation, because my future reservation isn't until 6 o'clock. It's more than 2 hours away. I hope that makes sense and kind of helps you guys to understand a little bit more. One of the things that I would recommend for Genie Plus is, as soon as you use your first reservation, immediately refresh the app and book your second reservation. A way that you really can kind of flex and get the most out of this plan is to pick the next attraction that is the closest to that attraction as far as time. So for example, let's say I just got on Big Thunder Mountain and my return window was 11 to 11:30. I tap my band, it's 11 o'clock. I pull up my app, I look in, and I see that there's a reservation for Pirates of the Caribbean at 11:30. I'm going to book Pirates of the Caribbean, because that means that as soon as I use Pirates, then, in a half an hour, I'm going to then be able to book another Genie Plus attraction. So it's really important to try to book attractions that are close with time if you are trying to ride as many attractions as you want. If your game plan is more of just making sure that you're able to ride certain attractions that are really popular and you don't mind kind of waiting around and things like that, then that's fine too. But if your goal with Genie Plus is to ride as many attractions as you can, I would highly recommend utilizing that plan. Another tip I would recommend is trying to book your next Genie Plus within the same area of the park. So for example, like I just said, if I'm at Big Thunder Mountain, if I'm in Frontierland, it doesn't really make sense for me to go to Frontierland and then go all the way over to, let's say, Tomorrowland. It makes more sense for me to book another attraction in Frontierland or in Adventureland rather than all the way on the other side of the park. Our family used this tactic with booking, as soon as we saw the next available one and within the same area. And in most days, we were able to ride all of the attractions that we wanted to ride by noon, by 1 o'clock, and we were able to, go eat lunch, and we were done. Like, our goals for that particular park were done for the day, because we used that rule of immediately tap, immediately book in the nearby vicinity. All right, so now let's talk about tips for the individual lightning lane. Now, I would say if you do have an option to book your stay during a time when it's not as many crowds, it's hard to say these days because it seems like Disney is just always crowded. But in the future, I would say, try to book a time that's off season, so you may not have to purchase Lightning Lane, or if you do, then you won't have to worry about there being a higher price because it's a higher demand. Once again, if you are staying at one of those deluxe resorts, definitely utilize the early hours or the extended evening hours. There are some parks where those individual Lightning Lane attractions may not be opened for those extra hours. Some of them they are, some of them they aren't. Just make sure you check on that particular park that you're intending to go to on that particular day. If you can, then I would highly recommend maybe booking, with each of these parks, there's going to be 2 attractions in each park that are on the individual Lightning Lane schedule. So maybe figure out, because you can only purchase one Lightning Lane at a time, which of those 2 is the most important for you and for your family. And I would even say, think about which one, if you go on this trip and you don't get to ride this ride, if I don't get to go on this attraction, will this mess up my trip? Will this ruin my trip? And I'll use myself as an example. So this past holiday season, like I said, we went to Disney World, and it had been about almost 3 years since we had gone. And in that span of time, there were so many changes that took place at Disney, all of these new attractions and experiences. And I was shielding my eyes, like, I'm on YouTube all the time, but I was like, I'm not going to watch any videos where, they show these attractions, because I want to experience them for myself the first time. And so for me, I absolutely had to ride Rise of the Resistance. I had to go on that attraction. I had to experience it. It was like my #1 must do for this trip. And so I did purchase individual Lightning Lane to go on this attraction. I was also concerned because I heard stories that this ride does go down from time to time. And I know that there's so many people out there that, you know, in the past when they would book the virtual queue, they ended up not being able to get on, or they would wait for hours upon hours and they couldn't get on. And so I really wanted to ensure that I could get on this attraction. So I booked a lightning lane. I got a really early in the morning reservation for it, and we were able to ride. And I was so pleased, so happy. For me, it was worth the money just because I had been waiting for 3 years to get on this attraction. And like I said, avoiding like all like, you know, clicking off of videos, avoiding it, running away from anything that I saw that remotely resembled it. And so for me, I had to ride this attraction that was on my list. So I say that to say that purchasing an individual lightning lane for all the different attractions may not be something that you and your family need to do or have to do. It kind of just depends upon what your goals are. So I'll give you guys another example. So at Magic Kingdom, one of the individual lightning lane attractions is Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. Typically, Space Mountain is included as well. Space Mountain is an individual lightning lane as well, but right now Disney has suspended some of those rides that are individual lightning lanes. They're actually included on Genie Plus. So this is something else I would also say. Definitely check when you're going down to see if some of those individual lightning lanes are included on Genie Plus, and you can flex even more. But for myself and my family, I personally would not pay an individual lightning lane to get on Seven Dwarfs Mine Train or Space Mountain, because I've gone on these attractions so many times. I've experienced them. I know what they're like. I love them. You know, I typically would just, my goal to ride those particular attractions would be to just get to the park really early and get on them really early, or arrive really late and go like right before the park closes. But because it's something that, let's say, you know, if it just didn't work out and I wasn't able to get on Space Mountain or Seven Dwarfs, I wouldn't leave that trip feeling like, oh man, I missed it, you know. But I definitely would have felt that way for Rise of the Resistance. So, you know, it's really hard. You know, I think one of the questions that, you know, a lot of people are asking is it worth it? And it all depends on what is important to you and what your family values. If your family is not really big on hitting the attractions and going to see, let's say, certain shows that are really popular and things like that, then Genie Plus and Lightning Lane may be something that you can pass, and something that you don't need to spend the additional money on. If your goals are to do a staycation and just kind of stay at your resort, relax, go to the pool, eat, it may not be something that's even worth it to you. Or like I said, if you go to the parks all the time and you're a local, or you live really close to Disney and you get to go like once a month or once every other month, you may be like, we don't need that. So I would say, you know, once again, I think these services are really designed for individuals that are not at the parks every day, every other week. They're more for individuals who only get to go to Disney every now and then and really want to make sure that they're able to hit all of their goals while visiting the parks. Well, let me know in the comments below, guys, if you know, are going to Disney soon and you're really considering purchasing Genie Plus, if you're more thinking about just doing the Lightning Lane. I would love to kind of hear your thoughts and get a discussion started. If you found this video helpful, please make sure to leave a thumbs up and subscribe for more content like this. It only takes a few seconds of your time, and it really, really does help the channel out. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next week. Bye.